My question, sir, is if you were a betting man, would you think we were near about a World War III, or if we are not near, when might that shape up, etc., etc., etc.?
Well, I don't think we are near a World War III. At least I hope we are not. But yes, there are these major flashpoints that we very clearly observe in the world. So we obviously have the Ukraine situation, which started on the 24th or 22nd of February 2022. 24th, I believe, with the special military operation. So it's an undeclared war, right? That's which is going on in Ukraine. And we know how that's going. I mean, everyone's been saying that Russia is losing. They've been losing men, material, everything. They're running out of supplies, but well, they still are there. And we know what's happening in Ukraine. The Ukrainian armed forces are running out of people, fighting age people. Now they are even pushing pregnant women into the front lines. And we're seeing a whole new form of warfare emerging over there. Drone warfare. Drones coordinating together, attacking warships, drones attacking human beings. A totally new kind of warfare, 21st century warfare, is being tested out on the battlefield in Ukraine. So we have Ukraine. Then we have this new conflagration in Israel, the Middle East. So the Middle East has always had these battle lines drawn for the longest time. And the root cause essentially is the external interference in the Middle East. If you look at the map of the Middle East, you will see straight lines everywhere. The straight lines were drawn by outside forces, and wherever you draw straight lines, you're going to divide communities that and put communities together that don't belong together. So we have all these issues in the Middle East. Very badly divided place, and there's always other powers, stronger powers, external powers that are playing one side off against the other for their own personal benefit. So the main deal in the Middle East is oil, obviously, and for the longest time, oil was the Achilles heel of the West. They did not have energy self-sufficiency. Now the US is a net exporter of energy, essentially, petroleum products. So they no longer have that issue, but they still are the major force in the Middle East. I mean, if you look at the balance of power, you have Iraq, which is no longer a power after Saddam Hussein was kicked off. Eradicated. You have Iran, you have Saudi Arabia, you have Israel, obviously a major power. You have Syria, which is supported by Russia. And you also have the shadow of Turkey, which is not really far away. So all of that happening over there. You have nations like the UAE, etc., that desire stability. Even Saudi Arabia desires stability. And there's the China factor as well. So much going on there.
Right.
So this is a flashpoint. That's going to be a flashpoint. And obviously the Gaza issue, the Palestinian issue is going to be something that's, there's no resolution in sight for that. So there is that. And then there is the China factor. So China, this was supposed to be the Chinese century, right? It was supposed to be that. China was supposed to be the rising superpower which aspires to replace and displace the US by roughly 2050 and become the major power. Well, that's also not happening, but China is a major force, no doubt about it. It's the only major power apart from the US. It's no match for the US, actually in terms of overall comprehensive hard power, but it's a very major force. You could say China is if not the largest and most powerful force, the second largest and most powerful force in Asia. Russia is actually the real.
Still?
Oh, absolutely. Just look at their nuclear power. Russia has a small economy comparatively. Russia has a small military also. If you look at their military expenditure per year, it's not much compared to other countries. But if you look at the nuclear strength that they have, that's the one X factor. It's the unfair advantage Russia has. The world's largest nuclear arsenal.
Even bigger than America?
Oh, absolutely. Russia's nuclear arsenal is bigger than that of the US. It's the number one arsenal in the world.
Oh my God, I had no idea.
Yeah. So Russia cannot be discounted. It's the one unfair advantage they have, and even China is dwarfed by that nuclear might and overall might of Russia. And of course the land area that they have and all that they control almost half of Eurasia. They have a significant power projection in Central Asia and all the way to the far east of Asia, Vladivostok and all that.
Right.
So there is that. And then there's China, which has all these expansionist tendencies. It's an imperial nation. They want to, if you look at the nations they neighbor, they have territorial disputes with essentially every single nation. And they have reopened some territorial disputes with Russia as well now. Okay. So there's China. And obviously the focus of attention is going to be the South China Sea. China is hemmed in by these island chains which are controlled by the US. We have Taiwan, then we have Japan, South Korea, all that. Then you have the Marshall Islands. So like 3 island chains that kind of hem China in. And China aspires to break free of those island chains because they have the world's largest navy, numerically. in terms of number of hulls, number of ships, China has the largest navy. Not necessarily in terms of actual kinetic power, but definitely in terms of numbers. And quantity has a quality of its own, like Joseph Stalin said. So China has that, but they are hemmed in by those island chains that encircle them. So they aspire to break free of that. And Taiwan is obviously where it all hopefully begins from their perspective. But imagine this. I mean, Taiwan is right in China's backyard. Just, a stone's throw away from China's coast, and yet they can't take Taiwan. That's how powerful the US actually is. So there is that thing. So you have a number of flashpoints. You could even consider the India, Tibet, and Pakistan tri-junction in the north of India to be a major flashpoint, a potential flashpoint. Nothing's happening there now, but who knows what could happen there.
Right.
So there are active flashpoints like active volcanoes, and there are potential flashpoints like dormant volcanoes. So there's a number of these scattered around the world. So and we have then the global choke points, the geopolitical choke points, which means the places where you can choke off the free navigation of ships and trade and all that.
Like the Suez and Panama?
Yes, so Suez is one, Panama is one. Then you have the Strait of Bab al-Mandeb between the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. Then you have the Strait of Hormuz, which is between the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea. And then you have the Strait of Malacca, which is between the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea. And you have various nations that dominate these various choke points. And India is a not so small player in a couple of these. For example, we can certainly police, so to say, the Strait of Hormuz, the Strait of Bab al-Mandeb, and the Strait of Malacca. So we have power projection. We don't necessarily choose to exercise that, but as you can see, we are doing anti-piracy operations all the way to the mouth of the Red Sea right now, and we're doing it successfully. While the Chinese have a base there in Djibouti, but they're not doing much. Means they are watching and enjoying what's happening. They're not really intervening and preventing the piracy from happening. The Chinese, we are doing that. So there are all these issues there, which we can see. So right now there is a certain balance of power in the world. You take a snapshot of the world at any given point in time, you will see a certain balance of power. And if you take these snapshots over a period of 10 years, you will see a changing balance of power. It's an automatically evolving, naturally evolving balance of power. It follows Darwinian principles. Power is like a force. It's like a pressure. And whichever nation has more power exerts a pressure outwards. And you will see these interplays of various pressures between regional powers, global powers, and so on. So the global power is the US. The major regional power in Asia is China, and of course Russia as well. And you have another regional power, which is India. Right. And Iran is there, Saudi Arabia is there, all of that. So right now, I don't see a world war erupting. But if somebody messes up something, if somebody miscalculates somewhere and makes one wrong choice, you could see a whole chain of events going off, a chain reaction kind of thing happening, which I don't think anybody really wants to see.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the situation right now, the way I see it.
Bro, अगर ये सुन के आपको मजा आया किसी भी एंड तक, अगर आप यहाँ तक देख रहे हो तो मजा आया ही, ठीक है? अपने आप से बात मत करो फालतू की. एक काम करो, सब्सक्राइब. Trust me.